So Joe Rogan has been catching a lot of shit lately for running cover for the Epstein class. He had that podcast with that guy, Mike Benz, and it was just beyond humiliating and embarrassing. I mean, the stuff that guy said, I've seen it like on every channel that covers anything remotely related to Rogan and politics. Every single one of them has a video that's like, it doesn't look good, dog. This does not look good. Now, Joe himself, to be fair, he was in the Epstein files in that Lawrence Krauss, one of his show guests, tried to get him to meet Epstein. And this was when Joe already knew what Epstein was about because he did a Google search and he learned about it. And so, to Joe's credit, he refused to meet with Epstein. But then he went on to launder the reputation of virtually the entire Epstein class. He had Donald Trump on his podcast and gave him a hot stone massage. He had on Peter Thiel, who was in the Epstein files and then lied to Rogan's face about the extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He had on, Mark Andreessen, Elon Musk. Elon Musk was, begging to go to the island, and it was super embarrassing, the stuff that came out on him. And nobody's a bigger Elon Musk simp than Joe Rogan is. So he's had on a billionaire seemingly every other week for the past couple of years. And he basically does PR for them. He does PR for the Epstein class. He does PR for MAGA. His show is, it's literally stuck, perma stuck in 2018, where everything, wokeness is so bad, bro. The pink-haired college kids, bro, they're so terrible, bro. But what's interesting is, not only has Rogan changed in the sense that he hopped on the MAGA bandwagon and he's, defending the Epstein class billionaire sadists, but also his actual values have changed as well. So I want to shout out here Abba and Preach, who, by the way, do have a phenomenal YouTube channel. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't. But they're a huge show. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know about it. But Abba and Preach basically lay out here for us how Rogan has sold out. He's quite literally sold out, and he's a very different person than he was back when he was a Bernie supporter in 2018. Right? So let's take a look and we'll break it down here.
I saw the weirdest thing. I was watching a Joe Rogan clip. I think he had an interview with somebody. And this motherfucker, I was like, when did he start doing this? And I was so confused when I heard this because it's in the middle of a discussion with Rand Paul.
I also don't ever interrupt a podcast with an ad.
The people will be just as upset as they were. And they'll still have the same government, essentially.
Right. NFL playoffs, let's go. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, makes every moment feel bigger. I also don't ever interrupt a podcast with an ad. The only thing I would ever promote is, it's like the same thing I feel about the stuff that I promote for free. Yeah. It would have to be something that I like.
Believed in.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan started taking gambling ads. I'm like, there's no way that's real. Somebody had to have edited that in. But no, sure enough, he had actually taken a gambling ad. And I was so surprised by this because I'm like, when did Joe start taking money from gambling people?
By the way, that is the number one sign of really selling out, is taking those gambling ads. Well, crypto is one too. If you take a crypto one, that's totally selling out. But gambling is too. Because these people they're offering a bag. They are offering a bag ski to people, man. It is like, they're just throwing money, making it rain. So if it's whatever, DraftKings, FanDuel, the other one is the prediction markets, which it's just gambling, but it's Kalshi and Polymarket. This is, Rogan doesn't even like sports, and he also doesn't even gamble. So it was literally just, hey, I like the size of the check that you're offering me, right? And you could see in the past, I never interrupt a podcast with an ad. Boom, interrupts the podcast with an ad. And it's gambling.
And I only say this because if you watch Joe Rogan a lot, to complain all the time about big pharma and how they have ads everywhere and how that should be illegal.
75% of all television advertisement is all pharmaceutical drugs.
And aren't we one of the few countries that allows
Only two. In the 1990s, they allowed pharmaceutical drug companies to advertise.
That's right.
Is that something that has to stay that way? Is that something that can be changed with policy?
And I always agreed with him when he would say stuff like that.
And on top of that, it's not like he needs the money, right?
Another guy that I feel like could care less about the money is Joe Rogan.
It's a fact. He doesn't care about money. He did the first 13 shows for free for us.
Let me tell you something about money, kids. Once you get past a certain amount, it doesn't feel like anything different. Yeah, it had a loft and I had a pool table, and I would look around at it. I go, I can't believe I actually live here. And then I got accustomed to it.
Yes. It's not like he saw big deals. But then again, I guess for some people, it's never going to be enough, right?
It's literally like a disease, And it's so crazy. Once you get over a certain amount of wealth, I don't know what that line is, and I don't know if it varies person to person, but it really does seem to like rot your soul and destroy your morality and your ethics. There's a certain line where people just lose their connection to humanity. And it's so consistent. Why do you think it is in the Epstein files, we have all this talk, not only pedophilia, not only rape, but also talk of like murder and torture. Like, it's because they view themselves as above us. Like, we're subhuman. We don't count. And like, what part of the initiation into the superhuman class of billionaires is, that sort of depravity. And they don't think anything of it. They all knew Epstein was engaged in it, and these other, wealthy elites were engaged in it. And I don't know what it is, but after a certain line, people just lose any semblance of right and wrong. And Rogan's no exception. From I never run an ad in the middle of a podcast to running ads in the middle of a podcast to, I don't care about money, I don't sell out, to taking a fucking DraftKings ad. Jesus Christ.
I would just never guess that Joe was that person. He would always talk about, like, I don't need this money. I'm not going to do anything for money. He always talks like, there's a lot of things that Joe could have done to compromise himself over the years, and he would always say no.
Exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point.
You know what kills me too is like, Joe doesn't watch traditional sports. You don't watch the NFL. You don't watch baseball. So hearing him do this fake ass ad is wild. Am I crazy to say I've never heard this side of him? And any OG fans, y'all let me know if I'm bugging. I remember him advertising Alpha Brain, but these were all products that he said he believed in because they help with your like brain function and your sleep. And he was always talking about health or whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I never bought any of it, but like, okay.
By the way, yes, like he does believe in that stuff, and that's why he was selling that stuff. But there's also been studies into that, and you're not going to be surprised to hear this, guys. But like supplement companies are basically scams. Like they're basically scams. So that was basically scam shit. But I think he believed in it. But it was scam shit, if that makes sense. Now this is somehow even worse. Because, like, you don't even believe in fucking sports betting and DraftKings. And, this is part of, like, what's destroying the younger generation. Is that now people have given up on any semblance of a collective project to make the country better, right? To have new rules of the road and new social safety net programs and, like, a unifying mission for the country. They've sort of given up on that. So now it's almost like the policy perspective of the Trump regime is corruption for all. Instead of like Medicare for all, instead of free college, instead of like a living wage, it's corruption for all. So like, hey, maybe you'll be the one to win the lottery. So go ahead and buy a lotto ticket. Hey, usually this insider trading shit is only for us elites. But now with Polymarket and with Kalshi, like, maybe you'll get some insider information and you can trade on that bitch and you can make a bunch of money. Hey, maybe your parlay will hit on fucking DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever and you'll make a bunch of money. So it's almost like we've given up. Everything is this like hyper-capitalist, corrupt, dog eat dog, every man for themselves type shit. And now you have Rogan reflecting that back at the world. The U.S. is reflecting it at him, and he's reflecting it back at the world. He's not trying to thwart this evil direction of the country, this race to the bottom. He's like, fuck it. I might as well cash in along the way, too.
When I saw him do fucking DraftKings, I'm like, yo.
People are playing them around the clock.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell is up with that?
Just plays in your dopamine.
Well, and it doesn't make sense because everyone knows the house always wins.
Yeah, it's not, it's like a numbing thing. They just sit there and press the buttons and press the buttons and press the buttons and hope they make money.
Yeah.
But that thing addicts people. I mean, that's the argument why casinos shouldn't be everywhere, because people would just, everywhere they would be falling into gambling addiction.
That's where it bothers me. Right. It's just like cocaine. It's just like drug abuse. It's just like the opiate problem. It's just like anything else. You and I both know people who have lost their fucking lives gambling. You see how they get, Joe Rogan. Yeah. There's no difference in the drug addict and the gambling addict. Not at all. No difference.
It's just as scary, too, because they're conscious. It's like if you see the drug addict, you see him, he's shooting up or whatever it is, and you see him fainting, you go, oh, the poor bastard. But when you see a guy who's fully in the grips of gambling, trying to figure out how to get his money back, and he's all jazzed up with adrenaline, he doesn't understand why.
Guys, he knows he sold out. He knows he sold out. There's no way around it. You think, and by the way, when he endorsed Trump, you think he didn't know the horrible shit about Trump? Like, you think he didn't know all of it? No, of course he did. He's had me on the show. He's had fucking Abby Martin on the show. He's had people hold his hand and walk him through it like he's a child. He knew all of it. He didn't care. He rode the wave. He rode the vibes. Because, hey, that was the cool thing online, is to hop on the bandwagon for Trump. So he did. And now he's fucking paying the price for that because people are abandoning his show at a record clip. But shout out to, Ahmed preach here, because they're exactly right. And I love that they went back and dug up, clips of him saying, I'll never run an ad in the middle of the, and then he does, and, talking about how gambling's fucked up and it's just one of the worst addictions, and then doing DraftKings ads. And I mean, shit, it's really a shame. I guess the one thing you could say is at least he didn't go full Bill Burr, where Bill used to talk about how, oh my God, Beyonce and whoever else is selling out by doing a show for the Libyan prince. And then, then he sold out to Saudi Arabia, effectively doing a very similar thing, right? Basically doing comic washing for the atrocities of the Saudi regime, like genocide, like executing people for free speech, like killing Jamal Khashoggi, right? So Bill Burr sold out and blew up his career, and Rogan, I think, is on a similar track. He's just at a much higher mountain, so it might take a lot longer for him to get down to the bottom. But look, we're at the point, I think everybody sees it now, right? I think everybody sees it now. There's so many people who are like former Rogan fans who now like have channels dedicated to breaking down Rogan's bullshit, and that the whole Rogan sphere is bullshit. And the other thing is, you guys know how it is, right? Like the way they talk about anybody who criticizes them, Rogan never engages with the substance and the specifics and the particulars of the arguments of the people who are criticizing him and the Rogan sphere. It's always, oh, they're just jealous. Oh, they're just haters. Oh, like it never, like Mark Maron, who like had detailed criticisms of like, here's the problem. You're ushering young men into fascism. Here's how you're doing it. Here's, here's the veneer of the argument you make about how, oh, let comedy be comedy. And we got to be anti-woke because the wokeness has gone too far. He has very detailed criticisms of like, you ushered young men into fascism and like thought nothing of it. And Rogan's reaction is like, you're just a jealous hater. And it's like, I think people now sense the bullshit in that too. That you can't just swat aside all criticism and say jealous haters, whereas the people doing the criticizing have like a fucking essay of here's every point as to where I think you're wrong and the specifics of how I think you're wrong and how you're hurting the country, right? But that's what they do. So anyway, I think the downfall is that they are right in this smack dab middle of the downfall, and I think it's only going to get worse.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.